Welcome to our new series, Prairie Avenue Spotlight, in which we will be showcasing the surviving houses on historic Prairie Avenue in Chicago's South Loop. In its heyday in the late 19th century, the 6 blocks of Prairie Avenue south of 16th Street were lined with about 90 mansions. Today, only 7 of those remain. We start our series with the oldest house on the avenue, built in 1870 for Elbridge Keith. That was 1 year before the Great Chicago Fire, which started about 2 miles northwest of this spot and did not impact the neighborhood. The architect of the house was John W. Roberts, who received his training in the office of the prominent New York architect Richard Upjohn. In 1856, Roberts came to Chicago, where he worked for W. W. Boyington, architect of the Chicago Water Tower. In later independent practice, Roberts designed numerous buildings in Chicago and Denver. The style of the house is known as Second Empire and is named after Napoleon III's Second Empire in France. It became the most popular style of architecture in America following the Civil War, being widely employed for public buildings and residences. It also became the most popular style on Prairie Avenue. Let's look at a few of the architectural features of the house. We will start with the most iconic design element of the Second Empire style, the tall Mansard roof, named after the French architect François Mansard, who popularized its use in the 17th century. The roof is covered in slate tiles cut into 2 different shapes to provide a pattern. This part of the house is not original, but was added about 10 years after the house was built to provide additional space and to bring the house into fashion with its neighbors. Immediately below the roof is an elaborate wood cornice with large scrolled brackets, smaller secondary brackets, and dentil trim, the term for the small row of wood blocks that resembles teeth. The cornice is beautifully painted to bring out these features. The facade is covered in large stone slabs which serve as a veneer. The actual structure is solid brick masonry construction, which was left exposed on the sides and rear. The tall double-hung windows are flanked by narrow half columns, which visually support curved lintels featuring incised decoration. The center entrance, with its massive 4-inch thick double doors, is set beneath a projecting porch in a classical style, with stone columns sporting Ionic capitals. The porch is extended to the full width of the house with an open balcony, supported on massive stone brackets set between the windows of the high basement. The facade is divided into 3 sections, which clearly display the functions contained within. The projecting bay at left marks the location of the formal rooms for entertaining guests, a parlor at the front with the dining room behind. The center portion, defined by the porch, contains the large central hall and staircase. The right side, with pairs of windows at each level, marks the location of the family rooms, including a parlor and the library. The house was built for Elbridge Keith, his wife Harriet, and their 6 children. He was a founder of the Metropolitan National Bank, which later became part of the First National Bank of Chicago. Along with his 2 brothers, who also resided on Prairie Avenue, he was a partner in the firm of Keith Brothers, one of the largest millinery firms in the United States. Active in civil affairs, he was a director of the World's Columbian Exposition and treasurer of the University of Illinois. For many years, he served on the Chicago Board of Education, and in the 1880s, a school was built and named for him at 34th and Dearborn. It was torn down about 1960. Keith died in 1905, and his wife eventually moved to a luxurious apartment in the Gold Coast. In 1934, the house was converted into offices for the publishing company Domestic Engineering. Here we see a cover from the December 1935 issue of their magazine, showing the porch of the house decorated for Christmas. It was occupied by various publishing companies into the 1970s. In 1974, Wilbert and Marilyn Hasbrook purchased the house, and she opened her Prairie Avenue Bookshop. It retained that name after moving downtown and became one of the preeminent architectural bookstores in the country. In 1978, the house was purchased by journalists Stephen Pratt and Joy Darrow. She was a grandniece of the famed attorney Clarence Darrow. They undertook extensive work on the house, including the restoration of the elaborate wood cornice. They opened the Prairie Avenue Gallery on the first floor in 1986. That space continues to be used as a gallery and event space, with the family and tenants occupying the second and third floors and the original brick coach house. That concludes our look at the Keith House. We hope you will join us next week for our new installment of Prairie Avenue Spotlight.